what could be the exact difference between vault-based and vaultless tokenization? Harsh, if you can answer that.
Yeah, sure. So by the very sense of it, by the term, as you can say, vault-based and vaultless means the absence or presence of a token vault. So traditionally, vault-based tokenization was something which was the go-to solution, but nowadays with the ever-evolving, say, ecosystem of technology with AI solutions coming into the picture and modern microservices architectures being built, and even the transaction rates and throughput need the requirements going up very fast. That is where I would say vaultless tokenization is something which doesn't rely every time on fetching the data from the vault makes a lot of sense. So vaultless is a slightly newer, more modern approach towards tokenization, and not just about which one came first and which is the more latest one, but also if you see, it's about whether or not there even is a requirement to get the plain text data back or not. So take, for example, a situation where you're running certain analytics. Okay, so there is an organization, it has received a lot of customer data, and it wants to perform some analytics on this data to understand the user patterns or to understand or do some kind of targeted marketing campaigns based on anything. In such scenarios wherein the only information that the organization wants is largely based on correlation. So for example, user A is doing so many transactions in a week, or user A has repeatedly purchased this one item for so many times in the last 1 month. You don't really need to know who user A is, right? You only need to know that user A has done a specific activity for so many times. So when you don't need the sensitive data, that user A can have lots of sensitive information about that person that is the system is capturing. It can be the phone number, it can be the email address, it can be credit card number, whatever. You can use vaultless tokenization because you don't really need to de-tokenize that value. Vaultless tokenization nowadays does offer de-tokenization options as well, wherein you have to use certain deterministic techniques through which you can perform a certain specific algorithms which will allow you to get back the sensitive data. Another benefit that vaultless tokenization offers is that of being format preserving in nature. So if you want to, again, as I said previously in the examples of encryption, wherein you don't want to break database schemas, if you want your applications to process certain data without having to make any changes, if you want the format to be preserved, that is again where vaultless tokenization is inherently going to preserve the data, the format of the data. Vault-based tokenization largely is when you want to retrieve sensitive data, and also when this sensitive data that you're storing has got a very long validity period or a very long lifespan. So if you say in India, we have Aadhaar number, we have PAN number, your driving license or passport also is issued for 10, 12 years, like that. And again, in such situations also, when say tomorrow going forward, you want to update any details, you don't have to make any say changes, or the applications don't have to really know that the underlying sensitive data has changed. So even in our solution that we have, that is PI Data Vault, you can rotate the encrypted data. So when we talk about rotation specifically in the case of say vault-based tokenization, we rotate the sensitive data which is already stored in the vault. The reference token that has been mapped against this sensitive data has already been consumed by the applications that is not getting rotated. So that is again one benefit. With regards to the implementation complexity or which approach should you choose, again, as I said, I think legacy applications are much more easier to integrate for vault-based tokenization approaches. The vault acts as a central point of reference for the applications to fetch sensitive data and perform the operations, whether or not the data is tokenized or it has to be de-tokenized. Another thing is, it depends on how much the scale of the data is. If you have, say, 50 microservices, or if you have 100 microservices or 100 applications which are going to, say, send the sensitive data, then again, in that case, if you have a vault-based approach and if you want the plain text data back, having so many, or if you have, say, even multiple locations in which all these applications are spread, so if you have multiple environments, you need to provision the vault accordingly. If you are a security services provider, which again, you need to provision independent vaults for each and every customer, or each and every tenant, then it is only supposed to be done in a very careful manner, wherein yes, you understand that there is a specific requirement for vault-based tokenization, and that is then the solution that you want to offer. Otherwise, I would say that for high throughput, high volume transactions where de-tokenization is not important or not necessary, you can proceed with a vaultless approach as well.